everyone. Have a little bit of inconvenience today, so we have a late start, so thank you all for your patience. We are manually recording this, and we will post it to our website so all the residents can be part of the meeting, and we'll take questions via email afterward or during the meeting if anyone has questions, but they won't hear me, so they won't have questions, so it'll be afterward. We can answer those questions. So good evening, everyone. Today is August 5th. It is our August work session. Let's get started by calling to order. Roll call if you find stuff.
Yeah, Councilmember Smolinski.
Present.
Councilmember Cerna.
Here.
Councilmember Rhea.
Here.
Councilmember Ellen will note as absent for the record. Councilmember Fry.
Here.
Vice President Kingsley.
Here.
President Sadalowski.
Here.
And we'll note that Mayor Aronson is absent for the record as well.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll start off with a couple announcements. So prior to this meeting, Borough Council held an executive session, and we spoke about property, personnel, and legal matters. Before we get started, it looks like we did receive one public comment following our July 15th public meeting. Steph, would you mind reading that public comment in the record for me?
Yes, this is from Alyssa Kelly. She actually emailed this to the mayor, and the mayor passed it along. So I'm going to read this on her behalf. So she is a resident, a mom of 3 young daughters, and she wanted to share an idea that she thought would be an incredible addition to our community, which is a splash pad. And she noted that one of the biggest reasons her family loves living here is how walkable and family-friendly the town is. We spend so much time walking to our parks, playgrounds, businesses, community events. It's one of the things that makes this town so special. It's a big reason so many families, including ours, want to stay here long term. She felt that a splash pad would be a natural extension of everything our town already does so well. It would give families a free, safe place to cool off during the summer without having to travel to neighboring communities or pay admission to a pool. It would also create another gathering place where neighbors can connect and children can play together. As a mom of 3 children, I know firsthand how families are looking for activities that are close to home. Our girls already love walking to our parks. I can only imagine how much joy a splash pad would bring, not just to them, but to the countless other children in our community. It would quickly become a destination for residents of all ages and would further strengthen our town's reputation as one of the best places to raise a family. I hope the council will consider adding a splash pad to future community improvement plans. I truly believe it would be an investment that families would enjoy for generations to come. Reinforces why so many of us choose to stay here. And she just wanted to thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Any public comment related to any agenda items before we get started? Hearing nothing, we'll go right into our agenda and we'll start with land use matters, public hearings for ordinances. So the first item is a presentation on the preliminary/final major subdivision and land development application for the Maple Street Development Project, 1838 46 Maple Street. MECKA Properties, LLC as the applicant. Hello.
Good evening.
How are you?
I represent the applicant, MECKA Properties LLC. Wesley and Christine Morello are here, the members of that LLC. Paul McChrystal Wesley is law firm. Susan Weiss is the engineer from STA Engineering. And we're here to discuss and rebuild that pretty new 18-foot wide foundations. Build a single-family detached building on the vacant lot in Maple Street. Full of new townhouses, adjacent to the main sub-alley on the north side off of Wood Street. And Susan can present the plan
a vacant lot, which will be a single-family dwelling. And then behind it, with access up through Wood Street off of Elm, is the recycling facility. So that is the existing building, existing recycling facility in the back that takes access from Elm Street up Wood through the alley, and that driveway exists now. So we're looking to use that driveway to then access what would be 12 townhomes in the back. There's reconfiguring of lots to make this happen, and the recycling facility will then be turned into the 12 townhouse units, and then the lots that are fronting Maple Street will have a consistent backyard that runs straight through to First Avenue, consistent with the other lots that are on that block. The townhouses proposed will face the street. There will be sidewalk on both sides of that street. There's a sidewalk then that will continue down and can make a pedestrian connection to a sidewalk that is in the alley that extends into Elm Street. There is a turnaround for your emergency vehicles, and there's also some additional visitor parking that the borough had requested that we consider. That's really it. Oh, sorry, I forgot one other thing. You see there's an L-shaped piece that you see that takes you from Maple Street over to First Avenue, a backwards L, I should say. That is intended to be a pedestrian path that connects those two streets, and it also connects the proposed 12 times.
At the zoning hearing, the resident talked about accessing the back of his house that fronts on Maple Street. So in an informal way, he comes down our property and goes behind his. So they said we would work with him to come up with a more formal way to get to the back of the house. So what we're proposing now is to create that walking trail from First Avenue up to Maple Street to be used by residents of the 3 new row houses, the single-family home, all the properties that are right that way on Maple Street, and it's both houses in the new townhouses on Maple on Wood Street. And that will be a paved walking trail, but not open to the public.
Could you just go back a second? Is Haynes Salati Park anywhere in that space?
Is what?
The Haynes Salati Park?
In the bottom, yes.
Down in the bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
Also,
If you go, I guess the aerial maybe would show. Yeah.
Will that be a street for access?
Yeah. So that wooded area there is the park. Right at the end of what's labeled Wood Street is where the park is, yeah.
so what we talked about was creating a parking area on the Haynes Salati property. It would be open to the public and as guest also parking for our townhouses, which would access through the existing Wood Street that already accesses the recycling facility. And it was suggested at the planning commission that we put a fence around that because there's a little bit of a slope issue, which we agreed to. Then that would create more parking for the park as well, and a sidewalk down to Elm Street for access.
So that 20-foot alley that also, that serves to provide access to the homes that front on Elm Street, is sort of a straight shot behind them. But you can see that the driveway access to the recycling facility kind of hangs off to the left and goes up the hill. And in that area there, we are going to do some restriping to kind of designate some additional parking spaces that may be there already. People might be using that, but it'll be a little bit more defined in that area so that folks can park along that alley as well. And then up where we have that emergency access turnaround, the borough suggested we also add some parking there.
The planning commission had made some recommendations. Are you willing to meet all their recommendations?
Well, it depends what they are. One was the fencing, which we're okay with. With initial that floodgate, maybe, on Elm Street, because there's some flooding issues down there, that's okay. They were talking about a secondary access to the property. We were not in favor of that. We do have the fire marshal's review letter, which indicates that he's satisfied with the ability to access the property.
Just quick question. I'm not that familiar with this area, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that park right there, it would seem that there's a good amount of traffic that's going to be coming in and out of there with the alley, or is that not, am I not seeing that correctly? Like that alley, there seems to be parking there. Is that like right up against the park right there? I'm just trying to get a visual.
Probably on the park.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Yes, Ralph, you've heard before here that the
Yeah.
recycling traffic down in that space
Yeah.
has been a challenge to put kids down there. And
Yeah, well,
worry about
that's
that.
what I was driving at, because I'm not familiar with that park, but we don't really go there that much. I live on the other side of town. But is there anything blocking the park from like that traffic area? I don't know, I'm asking. Does anybody know that?
No, there's nothing there right now.
Okay.
But the residents whose homes currently face Elm Street, they do park their cars, they come down that Wood Street and they park behind their homes, I understand that.
Yes.
So, but the road is still wide enough for people to get by, is that correct?
Yes.
Tractor trailers
Yes.
and trucks get by there, you know.
And you're recommending putting up an actual walking pathway so the kids, so people wouldn't have to.
It's actually
walk the
sidewalk.
streets. It's a sidewalk.
It's sidewalk, yep. Yeah.
Which is an enhancement to what it doesn't have today.
There's actually a sidewalk that kind of comes in off of Elm Street, up Wood Street for a little bit, and then, so we're just gonna keep extending that, bring it across that alley, and then run it up the driveway that goes up to the recycling. Right around where the D is on Wood Street is kind of where the sidewalk stops. So we're gonna continue it out, cross over the alley, and then run it alongside the driveway up to the, yeah.
So my question for you, you mentioned flooding. So right now, and for people who aren't familiar with this area, where that recycling area where the homes are going to go is up on a hill. That hill, whatever the cause is, there's flooding that comes down into the back of the homes along Wood Street. What in your engineering, flood management, water management is going to be done about that? Because something has to be done in that area.
Sure. So, number one, the existing impervious on our property on its own is going to be slightly reduced. All of the macadam and the buildings and stuff on the recycling area will come down. It will be replaced by some impervious, but there's also going to be a lot more green area that is in the backyards that are kind of up against those houses that are along the alley. So we're going to grade swales so that the water is not kind of leaving the property and impacting those folks, and it'll come down the driveway, the alley, like it normally does. But we are also putting in some stormwater management that will also get some of that rainwater back into the ground. We are applying for our PDS permit, so the county is going to be looking at this rigorously, and we are meeting our stormwater management ordinance. We're not increasing flow.
Would you say that you'd be improving stormwater management on this property?
Your ordinance requires it, so yes, we are.
I might have misunderstood. I thought the flooding was because it backed up at the creek.
I'm not sure, right? We have a hill, we have an area that floods the lower spot, so that's
Well, yeah.
that's why we have you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have received the Keaveney and Gilmore review letters, which were in will comply with the situation right now.
So I think I heard in total 16 units.
Yes.
3 townhouses, 12 townhomes, and then one single.
Correct.
Okay.
But you're knocking down 3.
I'm replacing them.
Right.
Right.
And are they currently occupying those 3?
They're not.
They were built a long time ago, and they're on stone foundations, and they're not all the same size.
Yeah.
So going through the review with staff, it was recommended maybe we tear them all down and put 18-foot wide uniform foundations for the 3. And that's what we presented to the zoning board.
She has a view of what, a rendering of what she was thinking for that area. That's kind of what they're envisioning for that replacement. The one on the left is the single on the vacant lot. And you'll notice that has a front entry garage onto First Avenue. We did get a variance to allow that. There is already a depression out there.
I was going to say, is there a curb cut already?
There is a curb cut there already. So.
Will all those townhouses be able to park next to their house, or some people have to be a little bit remote and walk in?
Well, First Avenue does have parking, perpendicular parking along there. And once we finish up, I think there's actually, right now, one of the buildings that is on that first lot has a driveway access onto First Avenue. And that'll go away when all this is done. So you'll gain maybe 2, possibly 3 parking spaces on First Avenue as well. And then there is parking out front.
Anyone have any other questions for the project? Thank you.
Did you need us to go through the waivers or no?
You could go through it.
Yeah.
Council's aware of all of them, obviously, but it would be worth running through.
Okay, sure. The first waiver is that your ordinance requires existing features within 100 feet of the site be provided. We've shown a decent amount of impervious, existing features, but we also provided the aerial so that you can have a wider view of things. Number 2, which requires separate preliminary and final plan submissions. We don't have a lot of permits and approvals, and this is basically your final plan. So we're asking for a preliminary final approval. Number 3 talks your ordinance prohibits dead-end streets. So you saw that we have a dead-end street, and it's just because of the topography and the way it's situated and how we need to access. So in order to offset that dead-end street, we did talk to your emergency services and provided that turnaround for them. Number 4 prohibits driveways and driveway curb cuts within the front yard setback. Again, because of the way the property is situated and how we need to access, we had to put the garages for the townhomes in the front yard. So that is why we need driveways and curb cuts in the front yard. Number 5 requires sidewalk along the private street to be placed 4 feet from the curb line. We have some, again, because of the way the lot is set up, we needed to place that sidewalk right up against the curb. It is there, it's right up against the edge of the street. So you'll have the edge of the street, then you'll have your sidewalk, and then you'll have your driveway. Number 6 prohibits grading within 3 feet of the property and right-of-way lines. Again, because of the way this property exists, we have some of the existing buildings are built right up to the property line. Some of them even go over them. So we're going to need to obtain some construction easements so that we can get onto everyone's property to demolish everything properly and regrade. Number 7, which requires shade trees be planted no more than 30 feet apart at a minimum distance of 5 feet inside the lot lines. We're asking for a waiver to not provide the street trees in the new street because of the way we have the sidewalk and the driveways and everything set up. We don't have that grass area to plant in. And for along Maple Street, we have 2 existing street trees. It would require more, but again, there's sidewalk out there and there's really nowhere to put those trees. Number 8, which requires multifamily development uses to be screened along the areas adjacent to other properties with 6-foot-high plantings. We have those 6-foot-high plantings along the rear yards, so it would be up against First Avenue and up against those properties that are facing Elm Street. But for the ends, the ones that are sort of behind the ones on Maple Street, and for the ones that are facing the park and stuff, their topography, infrastructure, we have retaining walls, we have paths and stuff. We just can't fit in those plantings and still make them thrive and be healthy with all the infrastructure that we need to install. Number 9 requires park and recreational facilities. We're just asking for a waiver to provide a fee in lieu of those facilities. That's it.
The street between the 12 new townhouses will be a private street maintained by the homeowners association, which will create.
And you're not removing any trees in any of this construction, correct?
Oh, wait, we are, sorry.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Where the
we are.
turnaround is,
There are some trees.
trees that are down below.
actually on Borough property.
Randy, I want to tease out that top a little bit. So we're looking at this drawing, many of those are older trees,
Right.
pines.
Yes.
What are you considering to remove? I mean, I don't have to pick out each tree, right? I'm wondering, we're talking about half of it, 75%, 10%?
It's just the
No,
front
there's
corner.
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 trees that go along that driveway that are in the way of the pedestrian path that we need to get.
Okay.
And where the turnaround is, Susan.
Where the turn.
The emergency turnaround, that's where the bigger tree is.
There are
That's where
some
the bigger
trees in
trees
there,
are.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
But is it safe to say the majority are staying?
Yes, the majority are
And
staying.
those are on Borough property, not ours anyway.
You can still take credit for it.
Actually, whatever we need to get the turnaround in and the parking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's just, the only other trees that would be coming down are the ones that they surround that we put in years ago for the neighbors. They're all arborvitaes that are up, that have to come out for the
Walking path.
not the walking path, the behind Maple Street, to leave that access. There's all trees planted there now.
So you're removing trees, we're not adding these, you're asking for some waiver for not adding.
Well, we are adding
Yes.
trees along the rear lines.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're putting trees back.
Yes.
Right, we are. There's there's 26 trees being proposed.
In addition, so you might be taking out 5 to
Mhm.
7, but you're putting in 26.
Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Great. There's no vote tonight, correct? No vote.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to show and explain.
And the normal process is we'll put together a draft resolution and send it to you for the next meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Moving to the next agenda item, it's under presentations. So we're going to discuss bids received for the community shuttle service renewal from the RFP. I'll invite Kaitlin Valliere from GVF to the podium, please.
Hello, my name is Kaitlin Valliere. I'm from GVF. Just as a reminder, we're a transportation management association. We were founded in 1990 and we're a nonprofit organization. We've been partnering with the Borough of Conshohocken on various projects for over 30 years. And we also have over 30 years of shuttle management experience, including 1 million trips for Fortune 500 companies, universities, national parks, and local government. So just as a reminder, the RFP was advertised on June 19th for a 2-year contract with 3 optional 1-year renewals. And the due date for the proposals was July 24th, 2026. We received 2 complete proposals, Transnet and Craft Transportation, and just a few quick comparisons, and then I'll get into the financials. Transnet, they both have a 14-passenger vehicle. Transnet has a propane fuel vehicle, that's the current Conshohocken cab. Craft Transportation will be gasoline powered. They both offer Wi-Fi and tracking software included in the proposal. And when I get into the numbers, just keep in mind that Craft Transportation did look to see what the current tracking software was and included that software in their proposal. So that's the Busware app. So they included keeping the tracking the same, and as did Transnet. Both vehicles include bike racks and they are ADA compliant as per the RFP. So just as a reference, the 2026 contract for the cab, the daily rate for Wednesday through Saturday, when it's running 11 to 11, is $942.16, and on Sundays, when it's a shorter day, it's $490.08. The total contract for 2026 was about just shy of $251,000. So I believe that you have the numbers in front of you, is that correct? Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. So Transnet, it's a 4% increase from the current contract, if you're considering the daily rate. The longer days would be $980.16, and Sundays are $490.08. And the total contract cost is just shy of $261,000. When you compare Craft Transportation for 2027, the daily rate for Wednesday through Saturday on the longer days is $1,187, and the Sundays are $690. And the yearly cost in the Craft proposal is just shy of $322,000 for the year. So if you look at the 5 years total proposed, Transnet's an increase of 4% on the daily rate for each year. Craft Transportation is an increase of 3% on the daily rate. For Transnet, the Wi-Fi is $660 for the year, and the tracking software is $2,100 for the year. There's no charge for the Wi-Fi on the Craft Transportation vehicle. The same tracking software is $3,600 for the year. So if you compare those where you add the Wi-Fi where it's no cost for Craft, but $660 for Transnet. Transnet, the total Wi-Fi plus tracking is $2,760 for the year, and Craft, the total is $3,600 even. So, would you like me to get into any of the other numbers for each the additional years?
Yes, please.
Okay, so for year 2, if I'm looking at Transnet, it's a 4% increase from year 1. The daily rate for Wednesday through Saturday is $1,019.36. For Sunday, it's $509.68 for a total contract cost of $273,552.98. For the same year, for Craft Transportation, Wednesday through Saturday, the daily rate is $1,223, and for Sunday, it's $711. The total contract cost is $334,440.05. For the optional renewal years for year 3, the daily rate for Transnet is $1,060, and then $530 for Sundays. Total contract cost $349,000, and then for Craft Transportation, sorry, I'm looking over 2 pages here. The daily rate is $1,260 for the longer days, $733 for the shorter days, with a total contract cost of $344,241.50. For year 4, another optional renewal year, Transnet, $1,102.40 for Wednesday through Saturday, which again are the longer days. For Sundays, $551.20. Total contract cost, $293,710.92. For Craft Transportation, for Wednesday through Saturday, $1,299. For Sundays, $756. And then the yearly cost, $352,000, $352 $1,684.80. And then finally, year 5, which is the last year of the optional renewal, Wednesday through Saturday for Transnet, $1,146.56 for the longer days, $573.28 for the shorter days, with a total contract cost of $305,365.85. And then for crafts, for Wednesday through Saturday, $1,339, and then for Sunday, $779, with a total contract cost of $363,417.75. A couple other things that I wanted to note is that the Wi-Fi and tracking software cost for both proposals does not go up. It stays the same for all 5 proposed years. And there's also included the cost for removing the existing Conshohocken cab branding on the Transnet vehicle, which would be $300 at any time that you would choose to do so. And then if you wanted to rewrap it with a half wrap, which only goes like up halfway up the vehicle, it's $2,800, and the full wrap is $4,400. And then for the craft transportation vehicle, the half wrap is $4,500 and the full wrap is $6,000, and that's a one-time cost for whenever it shouldn't happen. But I will say that the wraps are pretty sturdy. They do last for a long time. And then also one other thing to note is that you may notice on the spreadsheet that there's different day numbers in each year. I went through and pulled out all of the holidays that fall on days that cabs run. So for example, the cab doesn't run on Thanksgiving, so I removed that Thursday from the list. So that's why there's some different days. Like if Christmas falls on a Monday, the cab wouldn't run on that day anyway. So that's why like some of the years say 204 days and some say 205 or 206.
Sorry, you spit off a lot of information.
Sorry.
I was trying to keep up. So it is a agreement for 3 years with an optional year 4 and 5. Is that what you said?
It's an agreement for 2 years with an optional year 3, 4, and 5, and those are individual 1-year renewals.
So it's basically a 12,000, if we stay with Transnet, it's about a $12,000 increase
From the current.
for the 2 years over the current.
So for the first year, it's just under 10,000 increase the first year, and then it's about a 13,000 increase from year 1 to year 2 of that contract.
Anybody have any questions? All right, again, no vote this evening, just information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda this evening is a discussion on our 2nd Avenue pedestrian safety improvement project. I will invite Brian up to the podium, and Brian, would you mind going over what you have to show us this evening?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. As you may recall, the borough received a grant from PennDOT to improve the safety at 2nd Avenue several months ago. What Brittany has put up on the screen is the current plan. This plan will include high visibility crosswalks, signage, as well as an overhead flashing warning device and side mounted warning devices. So it'll be very similar to what we already have at 4th and 7th. And that second page is really a rendering or a detail of what the signs and the flashers will look like. But effectively, this will consist of 2 mast arms over Fayette to show or to display the rapid flashing beacons in both directions, along with associated pedestrian push buttons and, as I mentioned, the pavement markings and signs. So this plan is currently under review by PennDOT. We expect any comments and/or approval in the next week to 2 weeks, after which, once we address any comments, if there are any, we'd be ready to advertise it for bids. So I expect that to occur probably in the next 4 to 8 week time frame, or be ready for that to occur. So brief update, but with that, any questions or any other information I can provide, certainly can answer any.
On the left-hand side of your screen, is that center island, is that traffic calming? Is that what that is?
That's actually the existing painted median that leads down towards First. So that's existing. That's already there.
Existing. Okay.
Yeah. So there's no real curb work or changes with this project. We're just going to use the existing curb bump outs that are already on the east side of Fayette and Second.
Anyone have any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda this evening is to consider approving the purchase of 680 Colwell Lane that's owned by RTI Colwell LLC. That parcel ID is 49-00-02707-00-7. And we're looking to consider approving a resolution, which would be 2026-11, that would authorize the purchase/transfer of ownership of the property. Before we get started, I'm going to invite Ray up to the podium and Frank Perry to present the plans for this property, and then Mike Peters will discuss the resolution and sales stipulation. And there's Shauna. Sorry, I left you out.
I'm just the Vanna White.
Okay.
All right, so I'll get started with how we got here. Several years ago, council tasked administration with trying to find facilities that would accommodate our growing municipality. So we were able to deal with one of those issues with the fire station. The second thing that we were tasked with was trying to find something in the find something that was that would be suitable for public works, public services, garage, department, and the third thing was the community center, the expansion of the community center. So an opportunity a couple months ago came forward, and we're here to discuss it. So what I want to do is initially talk about what we have. So currently the public services garage is about 4,500 square feet. What you see is at the bottom picture is that is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the garage, when they put all the vehicles in the garage at the end of the day. That's what we're able to fit in that garage. It is what I would consider a large 2-bay commercial garage. It is not in any means amicable for what the municipality needs currently. And this has not been good. This is not something that's new. This has been going on for years, probably in a proximity of 20 years. There's some examples I'll show you of why the municipality thought years ago that we needed to expand, but they didn't take the opportunity to do so. The next page you'll see for about 20 people, including 2 summer help people, sometimes part-time people, depending on what we were able to hire. Those are the facilities for those guys. So 15 by 24 locker room. They need to store their dry equipment, wet equipment, numerous pairs of boots, numerous equipment that they're going to use throughout the day, whether that's normal weather or foul weather, everything goes there. There's nowhere else in that garage to put anything else. On the right-hand side, that was an undertaking. They refer to it as the break room, training room, but that was an undertaking that the Public Works employees took upon themselves to do. That was accomplished by them. It was a tool corral, correct? Yes. When I was the director down there, it was a tool corral. They decided that they wanted to turn it into a training room, and it was built by staff, Public Works staff. But since then, even since I've been down there, it's definitely outgrown itself. We've tried to have some meetings down there, and everybody's right on top of each other. Even that picture, to be honest with you, doesn't do it justice. It is truly smaller than it looks. When I talked about the borough looking at facilities in the past to try to accomplish some of its needs for storage and expansion, West Avenue Garage, which most of the people in the community and many people on council don't even know that we own, if you go down West 9th Avenue, when you're going down the hill towards Sutcliffe Park, there's a small alleyway on the left-hand side that takes you behind some homes. This garage is located in that alleyway. So it's on a hill, number one. So the utilization of that is basically summertime. Most of the lawn equipment, it's not changed since I've been there. Lawn equipment, that's concrete that you see there that they put there. But it is definitely a 2-bay residential garage. That's what they purchased it for. Since then, we were able to purchase the empty lot next to it. About 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we purchased the empty lot next to it. Again, to be able to try to utilize this in a more beneficial way, it was I think it cost us $11,000 or $12,000 to purchase that lot. And we were hoping to utilize it a little bit more, but simply because the location has become very difficult. As you know, most of the trucks that are involved in public services, public works, are larger. This is an alleyway, literally an alleyway, and you have to try to manipulate these larger vehicles down this alleyway. And we've had some incidents in the past to show that that's not really a good idea. We've had some damage to our vehicles, we've had some damage to poles there, trying to get around. It also forms a lot of ice in the wintertime, so basically in the wintertime it gets cut off. The next facility is West 7th Avenue Garage, and this is what I think most people in the municipality, especially the people on the west side of the municipality, believe is a public works facility. It is being utilized as a public works facility. But those are pole barns. They are not heated garages. The other garage is a salt barn that they only use to store salt. From the picture, it looks like it's a large area, but it's difficult to manipulate larger vehicles around because it is 2 levels. The level closest to the bottom of the page is approximately 3, 4, 5 feet drop off from the top. It's been difficult to maneuver around it. And that was, when I was there, it was difficult to maneuver around it. It's even more difficult to maneuver around it because to keep up with the current needs of what the municipality has, there's been a substantial amount of small equipment, large equipment that's been purchased, and equipment that we never kept in the past. So we never had a backup trash truck, for instance. So when our trash truck broke, we kindly borrowed one from Plymouth Township and then watched on Facebook, as everybody says, how come a Plymouth Township trash truck is driving around our municipality. But now we have backups to our vehicles. If you look at the center of this picture, those are 53-foot cargo containers that you see in this picture. 53-foot cargo containers are utilized. What are you using them for now?
Right now, there's holiday decorations that
up that line Fayette Street every year. There are multiple ones that are throughout Maryville Park. The other two store all kinds of other event-related items, and they're packed. We have to climb over things every day to get in and out there. What we do put in there, it's a hazard. They literally are like the tractors. So you open the back doors, and if you want the thing that's all the way on the other end, you've got to climb over everything else to get it and pull it out. It's only one way in, one way out. The other equipment that you see on the bottom right-hand side, that's not only equipment that some of it was purchased by the municipality, but a lot of this equipment we've got on grants, and it's for a substantial amount of money. Some of the chippers, some of the other equipment we've gotten, we've been lucky enough to get grants for a while now, especially our recycling equipment. We've gotten a lot of grants for recycling equipment. So we're able to, we were able to bring that equipment into the municipality, but it's become an issue as to where it gets placed. If you place it, some of it is diesel, it requires to be plugged in the wintertime. If you place it outdoors, it gets weathered very quickly. Hoses and the deterioration of those vehicles is quite evident after the winter if they stayed out through the winter, outside through the winter. I will note, and this is to the genius of the Public Works Department, the picture on the left-hand side, you see a bunch of concrete blocks that are there. They built those concrete blocks because there is no way for them to load salt into their trucks because of the height of the new truck. So the Public Works Department built a lift, basically not a lift, but a small bridge like that in order to be able to drive a front end loader on top of it and dump salt into their trucks to be able to work through the night at this location. The other thing that you'll notice about the location is close proximity to the homes. Roads about 30 feet wide and another, let's say, 15 feet to the front door of the houses across. We have heard for years, I don't know about Mr. Bria, but I know from the previous council person, she had as the home for the next public safety center. That's something I have to stop too, Paul. It's hard to get an idea on what 45,000 square foot is, so not that we're going to have it in there, but the biggest vehicle we could find is our Quint fire truck, so we drove it through the building. So what you see here is the Quint inside the building, and it easily maneuvers around this building. Part of the building was in 2007 they had put an addition on the lower end of this building, which gave it 45,000 square feet. So there's a wall separation between two. It is by no means a perfect building. It is a work in progress. So it would be a work in progress over numerous years to get it to what I think eventually would be a very good public safety building, but public works building. The things about it that stuck out right away are the size, the open bays, the easily accessible to the borough as a whole on that side. We really don't have any residential issues there. We did get, that plan is a tree plan to try to address some of the things that we potentially thought we might have issues with, was noise and aesthetics. So we had some plans as to how to address some of those. It's in dire need of some TLC. So trees, plantings, painting, those things we would start looking at almost immediately. Renewing the office portion of it would be done almost immediately, and move from there. The office portion of this building is almost the size of the entire Public Works garage in the 600 block of Elm Street. about 5,000 or so square feet. So we did, we started and the last page is basically the size comparisons to what we have now as the, on all our current sites, size-wise, and as to what we have if we purchased that building. It's a 215% increase in space. Some of the things that we looked at along with this is what would we do with the current properties we have. So just going through off the top of my head, 6th Avenue, 600 block of East Elm Street. We have already had an engineer look at that to put a second floor on it. We're waiting to see what the results of that are. The second floor would give a second floor for the availability for the public works people to go to the second floor to use it for locker rooms and lunchroom and things like that. But it wouldn't open up the area for the larger trucks and vehicles. We would still be dealing with what we're dealing with there. To try to leave the facility in the same footprint with the same roof and everything else, we know we have a problem with that. You've seen that in almost every capital budget that since I've taken over. We've always tried to account for the fact that that roof on that building was eventually going to have to be replaced. Some of the problems with that is where we're going to put everybody while we're doing it. We did have a flood there at one time, and we brought in a trailer to accommodate the Public Works Department, but we still were able to open up the garages, to use the garages while the trailer was on location, and it just became quite evident that we were in a pretty futile position where we are, where that location is. We've eliminated the use, we started to eliminate almost completely the use of the gas pumps. There is no more gas. We're going to use an outside entity for pumping, for getting our fuel. But the location of the gas pumps in proximity of the power lines in front of them prohibits us from ever really going through a process of changing any of that. Even to remove that, when we got bidding on some of removing the tanks, most of the operators want to bring a crane in and put it on Hector Street and go over 2 houses to remove the tank on Elm Street. So it's a tight place, it's a tight, very tight place. It's far outweighed what it was meant for when I was down there. I'll let Frank speak to the current conditions, since he's gained some employees and some equipment since I've left there. But we'll start with that particular building.
So that, as Ray said, that building is, we outgrow it a lot, and there are a lot of repair issues there, roof leaks in numerous spots over top of electrical wires. There is a major leak every time it rains. It does leak onto the electrical wires, the alarm panels, and all that stuff. And we are just out of space. Our mechanic works out of there on a daily basis. So we have, his area in the corner that takes up basically one half of the garage is for the mechanic with his lift and his equipment. And as you see in the pictures, park those trucks in there every day. It's a vault. We fight with it every day. We have a lot of equipment parked outside, millions of dollars of equipment that just sits outside, is vulnerable to the weather, to people getting, at 7th Avenue garage, they can get over the fence easily. And we have a lot of equipment outside, dangerous equipment. Chippers are all sitting outside because we have no room for anything. We've taken in, as Ray said, the cargo containers at 7th Avenue. So back to Elm Street, we have 19 guys that share a room that is half, quarter the size of this room. For their getting changed, as Ray said, their locker rooms there. We don't even have enough lockers for the amount of guys we have. they're just hanging stuff up. There's clothing laying everywhere. Office space, there's myself, well, there was myself and 4 managers jammed in a 20 by 9 foot office space. There's 4 desks. It's basically like cubicles. So we, and the bathroom is, there's only, 1 stall, 1 urinal in there for 20 people. We outgrow, it served its purpose, don't get me wrong, but I think it is now time to consider, and this opportunity of, open up the work, if everything works out, I think this is a no-brainer.
How long you,
I've been here 29 years, so I've seen the growth, I've been through it, and it doesn't look like it's stopping growing. And, the more equipment, the more, things that happen, the more work we're taking on. We just have nowhere to store any. We're piling stuff on top of each other. Everything.
so when we get past the operational portion of it and get down to what we would do with that property. So there would be no intention for the borough to really need that property anymore. So when these properties become available, or people get on the rumor mill and start hearing that these properties are going to be available, there's generally a lot of phone calls if there is interest, and there has been interest in the general public for purchasing of that garage. But we've also engaged in some conversations with the sewer authority. They're also going through the same issue that Public Works is going through, which is expansion. They need to expand, and there's really nowhere to go. They are, if you do, some people don't know this, but a good portion or some portion of the sewer authority is actually in Wetmore Township. So when this discussion came up, one of the things we needed to do for this particular building during our due diligence period was we wanted to have the storm sewer looked at and the sewer system looked at, and we went to the sewer authority and asked them to do that for us. And in that conversation, during that conversation, it came up that they may have interest in that. So that opens up a lot of options in the for the municipality, and I guess there's some legal, obviously there's going to be some legal hurdles, whether that's a public entity, private entity, however that's dealt with. But for us, it doesn't really matter if it's one way or another. If it's a private, public entity, then we can deal with it a little bit differently. But otherwise, it would go up for auction just like any other property that the Borough of Conshohocken would put up for sale. And we would set a price that we would want for it, and put it up for auction. That's 6th Avenue. 7th Avenue, which is the more intriguing one, I think we would, what the goal there would be to bring it back to what it is supposed to be, which is an extension of Shuttle Park. And in doing so, again, Anita's gonna really love me for bringing up her name every 5 minutes for this, but Anita did approach council several times about putting a dog park there. In fact, she presented, I remember it clearly, that she presented, at least I saw a rendering of a dog park at that location. And I know there's a lot of questions about dog parks and things like that, but because of the way that that's shaped, optimal long runs, we would be able to fence it in, we would be able to secure it. If I remember her renderings correctly, she even had parking spaces in there. We would not be building any structures on that property, no matter what. There would be no structures. And then there would be a discussion on what we would do with the current structures and whether we can incorporate that into some type of facility that would work with either a dog park, a park, a splash pad, or whatever. We do have water in there finally too. There wasn't water in there for a long time, and there's water in there. But if we could incorporate it, and because it's a pole barn, it's referred to as a pole barn, there's a lot of things we can do with it. There's no gas in there, there's just power. It's not heated. So we could, there are things that we could potentially do with it without having, not knocking it down. I did ask for a rendering, but it was not going to be available by this meeting. If this were to move forward, there'll be a rendering of that in a natural kind of setting as part of Suckwood Park. Trees, grass, and then whatever you want to, whatever you want to do. The 9th Avenue facility, again, that's one that we would be, we would have to really discuss. The return on the investment on that property will probably never happen. It was paid, a lot of money was paid for that in, I believe, 1997. The community garden has talked about fencing and trying to keep deer out, and if you go to the community garden, you see how everything is kind of that we would have for that. We really wouldn't need it for anything else, so I don't really see why we would move in any other direction but that. Is that it? So we've done everything that we possibly could at this point. We've taken some ATVs down there and seen if we could make a connection between Colwell Lane and the bike path. The bike path, if you look at the aerial picture, the bike path comes in about at the turn of 476, but it is a pretty substantial slope. But we did take some ATVs to see if there would be a potential there, and it would require construction, but we could definitely have conversations with Plymouth Township in the future, and in order to be able to run a path through Colwell. It would be pretty neat to have a connection between the A field and the bike path going through a piece of property over there. So we've looked at every opportunity we can. The only structure that you would see on this site that isn't on this site currently would be a salt barn. We would build a salt barn. Salt is very corrosive, so to put salt inside a building, we wouldn't want to do that, especially steel structure. So somewhere along on that property, there's numerous locations outside of any aesthetic issues that could possibly be caused by it. We would be able to put a salt barn. The same type that you see at 7th Avenue. It would be a pole barn with a front opening. So that's the only other structure that we would be looking for on that property. So concrete with a barn or a salt barn.
Any questions from anybody? That was a lot of information.
If this, and just let's, to be quite honest with you, if this does not work out, we will still be having to look for another facility. Let's by no means try to pretend like that's not going to happen. It is going to have to happen. And it's probably sooner than later. So if this does not work out, we'll just continue looking for another location.
For me, and I'm repeating back to some of the things you said, but summarizing, it sounds like there's two big issues, safety and efficiency. I mean, every property you name has what I think is a worker safety issue. And overall, it sounds like there's an efficiency issue where you're definitely losing out. Yeah, that's just how, I know you talked for a while, and I'll just sum it up in 2 sentences. But that's what I'm hearing you say is worker safety.
So a common sense issue, like trying to make a connection on a vehicle when it's snowing and 20 and 12 degrees, and doing it inside a facility.
and then going out.
I've made a list. Pretty much every property you've named had some kind of, I mean, that's a major safety issue. Someone's going to get hurt, but even smaller, I mean, raining into electrical areas and things like that. Yeah, so those are the two biggest topics I'm going to talk about.
So Frank, as the director of the Public Services Department, you talked about having a single mechanic. That mechanic is responsible for every piece of equipment, including police, cars.
Fire, L&I.
So one mechanic for all that equipment with one day.
Yes.
So I would anticipate that's an area that we probably are going to need to see growth in as well. And this would give us the opportunity to actually put some mechanic bays in to be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the new space, potential new space, gives us more than enough opportunity to do that. To add maybe another lift if we, in the future, it definitely be forward progress.
And that goes to growth of the department. The current lift that we have, we've already got pricing to move, and it's actually much cheaper than we thought it was to move into another location. So that one's relatively new, and it can be reutilized in the new location. And we do currently have one mechanic, but we have what I think would be called a mechanic in training, which we have discussed with Stephanie to send into school to finish. He was a licensed mechanic at one point, but his license ran out. But he's interested in it now. It's a difficult person to find and hire, and we're lucky enough to have one that's on staff, and we're going to try to get it.
So I'm not hearing that this is going to be as big of a project as the public safety building, where it was a knockdown, rebuild, millions of dollars to outfit. I'm hearing that this is a building that we can use its bones and develop it out as we go. It probably needs a little bit of something to get it up and running.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing to get us in there, the office area, right now is 1970s paneling, and it has some old issues from, just sitting. So we would go in there in-house, we would conduct that, and make it our space. Maybe a break room, maybe, locker rooms. It needs some, as Ray said, TLC. But the bones are good. Everything else about the building is going great.
And we did have conversations with the owner based on, because the sale of this property is relatively new, and I don't really want to, he doesn't want me to get into the specifics of the sale, so I'm not going to. But the sale of this property is relatively new to him. So he's had to go through all the due diligence in order to purchase the property. So there was some asbestos shingles on the floor. That has already been remediated, and we have documentation of that remediation, and we were able, he's been very amicable with us about going in and out and looking at, and we already know that has been taken care of, remediated correctly by a certified company because it was part of the documentation. So those are the things that we've seen. There is one final aspect I will talk to with equipment. So one thing that we have not gotten into, which was the final phase of what public services in the borough was going to do, is once the roads are where they need to be, there's the next part of that, which is maintaining them and maintaining them to the level where they need to be. So if one lane, for instance, goes bad, what are you going to do? So in the next 18 months, the Borough Public Services Department will be developing a program to do road maintenance, which will include mill and overlay of a lane. They're going to work with actually Whitney Township of a lot of that type of work, road work, so they're going to go up to Whitney Township and learn some of their techniques. Let's just talk about the Summer Park and all the trails in Summer Park that recently been put
live there. It's not gonna last forever. They will be able to redo them and maintain them. And and with Main Township, that's the first project that they're gonna do with Main Township. They're doing some of their parks and their trails in their parks. And so they're gonna go out there and learn how to do that. And eventually, through capital program and when necessary, they're gonna get the equipment that they need to do it. They can rent some of it, but they don't know how to use it. It was never part of what they did. That will be the final portion of what they did. So you'll have stormwater, sanitation, tree removal, salt, which we do also state roads now. We do the bridge as well as the state roads here in the borough. All that's done by these guys. So it's an ever-evolving job, and it's an ever-evolving job with the professionalism that is required in order to do it. They're trained well, they do their job well, and this would be the perfect path so that if we can make it work. But if we can't, like I said, we will not stop looking for it. See if we can find something else.
I'm trying to better understand the how we'll start utilizing the space. I mean, I get we're overstuffed. We are, basically packing stuff on top of other things. It's dangerous to do that because, and inefficient. But I guess my question is, the facility is going to be about 3 times the size of what we currently have. So what are you estimating we would already fill up of that space, given what we have? Like 50% of the new space?
Yeah, I would say that maybe 2/3 of the space would be full. We have other facilities that we store, and we're currently leasing facilities in order to store equipment. So that I didn't bring up. I only brought up the properties that we actually own or have a vested interest in, other than the leased properties. But we do have properties that we lease, which store a lot of equipment. We have, even our parking garage here, we have equipment that would all go, for the most part, there. And because it's an open setup, there's a lot of things we can do inside to hot it. They can, the police department can have their place, the fire department can have their place. And again, one thing I did forget to say is 6th Avenue, or the Elm Street garage, is not sprinkled. There's no sprinkler system in it at all. So there's a placard on the front of the building. If it catches on fire, the fire department doesn't do it. This is a fully sprinkled building, completely sprinkled. So we'd also have a little bit more faith in the fact that we could put some of this expensive equipment. And sprinklers are generally talked about with life safety, but they also put out fires and put them out pretty quickly. So that was definitely a benefit for the entire building.
Anyone else have any questions related to this?
Yeah, Ray, you said if this falls through, you keep looking. Realistically, where else is there close to the Borough of Conshohocken?
I'm not going to be sarcastic, Kathleen. You walk this town way more than I do. You tell me.
I can't
I would
think
be
of a place.
glad to try to make that negotiation happen.
Right.
But even when we have even engaged in some talks, in general, they've been conversations about leasing and never buying. And then the other ones, when you start thinking about where they are, they really don't work. We can't have a facility like this on the other side of the train track. It's not going to work.
We have to have a facility, we can't have a facility along that Colwell Lane stretch, because Plymouth Creek, every once in a while, Plymouth Creek flood. So this is, believe it or not, there is not even a corner of this in Plymouth. The tributary behind it is not, it's tributary to the Plymouth Creek, it's also small. Brook Road does flood, but not in that section.
So basically, it's this or nothing else.
Maybe something might come up. Maybe sink a little bit. But yeah, then I don't see anything in there, and inside the Borough of Conshohocken. I just,
And Mike, there's no problem with the Borough of Conshohocken running a business in Plymouth Township?
Not running a business.
No. Running our
Running a
operations?
municipal operation, no,
Yes.
there's no prohibition on that whatsoever.
Anyone else?
Mike, can you just go over the resolution?
Sure. So what we prepared, and council has seen these before when we've engaged in property purchases, is a resolution that sets forth some of the background, nowhere near as detailed as I went into, some of the background why the space is needed, and then authorizes, as this moves forward, your borough manager, with my advice and help, to execute the documents that are needed for purchase of the property. It attaches a draft agreement of sale. That draft agreement of sale is going to be amended, and that is because we included a standard due diligence period in here, but we do already know that we will need some zoning relief from Plymouth Township, so we will be amending this agreement of sale to provide a time period within which we can seek that zoning relief from their zoning hearing board. No red flags at this time in terms of obtaining that, but prior to closing, the borough certainly wants to have that in hand. The purchase price is $5.975 million, and otherwise, the agreement of sale is relatively straightforward, just because there's not a lot to this in terms of financing as between us and the seller. So the provisions of the resolution are relatively short, and what we do in these circumstances, and we'll do here, is after we have the agreement of sale form finalized and agreed to between the parties, you guys will consider it again, and that will likely be a meeting 2 weeks from now.
And then just from a financing perspective, so again, the closing, the cost is $5,975,000 plus associated closing costs. And the proposed funding plan would be to utilize $3 million from the borough's general fund, and then $3 million from the capital fund balance. You would use cash on hand to purchase the real property, and then upon receipt of the 2027 bond proceeds, which are already underway, which will come in approximately in early 2027, the borough would reimburse the capital fund and $3 million from those proceeds. So you have the funding available, and it is, should you move forward with the acquisition, it is prepared.
Any other questions? Hearing no other questions, this evening I'm looking for a motion to approve the resolution 2026-11, which would authorize the purchase and transfer of ownership of 680 Colwell Lane tax parcel in the amount of $5,975,000 plus the associated closing costs. And Stephanie went over where those funding sources would come from to be able to do that.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing, Paul? You all right back there?
Talk faster, so we don't run out of.
She already ran out of battery once, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, next item on our agenda this evening is council business. It doesn't look like we have any other council business. So we'll move right into manager matters and have a discussion on the Park and Rec Commission.
Okay, I will go through, the ordinance was passed that revised the Park and Rec ordinance and then created the Park and Recreation Commission. And so now we need to discuss the compilation of that actual commission and then start the process of advertising for the vacant positions, interviewing and appointing, with the plan of having the commission up and running for early 2027. So all very exciting themes going on. The one piece of clarification that I do need from council is that the commission is 5 members total. And the compilation can either be 1 or 2 council members, and then depending on what you decide, either 1 or 2 council members, will either be 3 or 4 residents. So the main direction I need from you this evening is how would you like that compilation set up? And also just give us authorization to start the advertising and interview process.
So this will follow the same process that we've used for other commissions and committees and task force. People will apply with interest, we will interview them, and we will, as a council, make a selection on who those members are.
That is correct.
Council, is there any feeling of 1 or 2 council members on this commission?
So I'll say that preliminarily, having spoke to some people about the Parks and Recs Commission, seems to be some good interest in faces that we haven't necessarily seen here before. So I'm kind of bullish on saying that we can get a good amount of residents on the commission. Between, obviously, like Little League has vested interest in stuff like things like that. There's even gentlemen who want to play basketball from your ward, and Ward 1 is a senior citizen that was showing interest in it. So I'd be okay with 1 council person and leaning on us getting, or other people. I know traditionally it's been tough to fill these seats.
You can also reserve the right to, if you only get so much interest, fill it with the council.
Well, I think that's, yeah, if we can do that, then that's what I would suggest would be the play. But again, right now, I can't say for certain, but I think there's a good amount of interest in being part of something like this.
Council opposed to 1 council member and 4, searching for 4 community members?
I like it.
Okay, great, it's your direction.
Got it. So we will, based off that direction, start the advertising process to start having candidates interviews. So if anyone has any questions or anyone has interest, you can forward them to Brittany or I, and we'll walk them through the process of getting them set up.
And as a reminder, commissioners that are appointed are the voting members, but anyone can come to any of the meetings and
Correct.
add input and discussion.
That's correct, and this commission is going to be the main commission that's going to serve as an advisory role to council on things pertaining to development, improvement, use, maintenance, leisure needs of the borough's parks, playgrounds, and recreational facilities. So it's a good kicking off part for the growth of our next department.
So just to call out the difference, this will be the advisory board. Our Friends of Conshohocken Parks is our fundraising arm. So they're 2 separate and distinct groups that will work together for the community.
The 2 separate and distinct groups that need to be, because Friends of Conshohocken Parks is technically a nonprofit legal separate entity. Yes.
Great, thanks.
And just a follow-up question on that, would a member be eligible to sit on both?
At this point, they'll be separate, but again, as Tina said, they can definitely attend and be part of the conversation.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, moving on. Next
item is to consider awarding a bid for construction services for our Colwell Street Road construction project. So this is one of the roads in our road program that will be done. And the idea is we start awarding bids and we start having our road repaired. So I'm looking for a motion to award the base bid with an alternate bid number 1 and an alternate bid number 2 to T. Schaefer Contractors Incorporated, and that amount is $832,585.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider approving Resolution 2026-12, which will approve a supplemental appropriation for the Hallowell Street Road construction project. So looking for a motion to approve Resolution 2026-12.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a discussion on reappointing B. Bergville and Company PC to conduct the borough's annual financial audit for fiscal years ending in 2027, 2028, and 2029. Stephanie, would you just go through the renewal proposal?
Yes, Bergdal is our current auditor, and they have conducted our annual financial audits since 2016. They have been instrumental in completing items such as OPEB valuation, finalized capital asset list and policy, and implementing government-wide financial statements. We are looking to renew the agreement for another 3 years, to again cover 27, 28, 29. For 27, you're looking at a $1,000 increase at $25,000, and then for 28, it would be a $750 increase, and for 2029, a $750 increase.
Any questions related to that? There's no vote on this tonight, but if you have any questions. Jen, maybe over to Steph.
See, I'm going to throw it out there quick. I believe the answer to this is no. Are we subject to single audit act for federal awards? They cost $1 million. We probably don't get that much.
We were subject to one single audit award, but that was only for one single
1 year.
federal, yes, 1 year.
Thanks.
Next
And that
item.
audit has been completed.
Next item on the agenda is to consider approving 140 East 6th Avenue financial security escrow release number 1, which is the final, and that would be in the amount of $39,809. Looking for a motion contingent upon receipt of recorded agreements with the MJ Acquisitions LLC.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is considering 140 East 6th Avenue professional service escrow release, and that would be a final release in the amount of $3,257.66 plus interest. Looking for a motion contingent upon the receipt of recorded agreements with Andrew Acquisitions LLC.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is to consider approving a tuition reimbursement for Sergeant Walter for the fall of 2026. This is part of the collective bargaining agreement, and that amount is $7,766.88 plus the cost of books. Looking for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is discussing the results of the trial period for a temporary residential permit parking on the 200 to 300 blocks of East Elm, the 400 block of West Elm Street parking, and looking at that to be made permanent through a borough ordinance. So, Chief Lennon, do you want to go over that with us just real quick?
Yes. like you said, we're here to give an update on the temporary permit parking resolution that we've had in place for the last 90 days. So I'll begin with the 200 and 300 blocks of East Elm Street. In December 2025 and February 2026, the borough received concerns from a single citizen about parking availability in the 200 and 300 blocks of East Elm Street. In March of 2026, a plan was formulated to establish whether there was a need for residential permit parking in these areas. In March, parking officers began collecting information on parking in the area, including available spaces, current parking utilization, and availability. Officers began visiting these blocks 2 to 3 times a day to observe and document available parking. The available parking in both of these blocks, in the 200 block we have 52 available spaces, in the 300 block we have 69 available spaces. The objective is to determine whether parking occupancy consistently exceeds 85%. This is a commonly accepted threshold at which drivers begin experiencing difficulty finding available parking. At the May 20th, 2026 Borough Council meeting, Borough Council approved a temporary 90-day resolution establishing 2-hour residential parking permit for the 200 and 300 blocks of East Elm Street. Following this meeting, letters and temporary permits were distributed to all residents of these blocks explaining the process and soliciting feedback. We also used the display permits to determine whether vehicles were residents or were visitors. To date, we have received questions from one landlord about the process and its purpose, and one business who was against the establishing permanent parking. It should also be noted that the original concern of both parties we received feedback from were all on the 200 block of East Elm Street. We included the 300 block because it's the close proximity and the available parking in that area. In our charts, we chose to display based on the occupancy consistently exceeding 75 to 85%, because below 75% would mean that parking is readily available. So this is the 200 block that we're looking at there. If you want to go to the 300 block, you can see the 300 block, we just have one slight deviation where we go above that 85%. And even though we do go above that 85%, in that one time frame, it still means there's still availability of 5 parking spots in that block. So we're not seeing anything where there's no parking available. So this leaves you with 3 options. Option 1 is to close the temporary permit parking out, as the data shows the commonly accepted thresholds have not been met. It is our recommendation at this time that the threshold has not been met, and it is difficult to justify implementing residential parking program in this area. Option 2 is to collect the data in these areas as current development comes to fruition. It may influence parking availability. This can be problematic based on the current staffing and other duties and other areas served by parking officers. It's taking them away from their normal task of collecting this information. Option 3 is implement permit parking on these blocks. This can be problematic, again, with current staffing. If residents are required to supply necessary information and expenses to obtain permits, they deserve consistent enforcement. If permitted parking is approved on these blocks, there will most likely be an effect on surrounding blocks with the displacement of non-permanent vehicles on these blocks. So as this permanent parking ordinance temporary resolution has been in place, we have not received feedback from residents saying that we're looking for this, we like this. The lack of that information, I think, speaks to the fact that it may lead to residents not going out and getting the permits, and then us unnecessarily enforcing permits on residents that don't comply. Another consideration is that if the 90-day temporary resolution receives limited interest, it may result in lower compliance rates and requires unnecessary enforcement actions against the vehicle, the very residents the program was designed to assist. So that is our update for the 200 and 300 blocks. I'll move to the 400 block of West Elm Street, where we did establish by ordinance overnight parking. The borough received multiple requests from residents of the 400 block of West Elm Street seeking a solution to ongoing shortage of off-street parking. Prior to the construction of the Madison at West Elm, a permanent parking lot was available for West Elm Street residents. Recognizing the continued need for resident parking, the borough worked to reestablish a permit parking program. Permits for 20 dedicated overnight parking spaces in the Madison at West Elm parking lot became available for purchase on June 1. Demand was immediate, with 18 of the 20 permits sold within days of becoming available. Since the program's implementation, patrol officers have conducted overnight monitoring of the parking lot, which began with enforcement but quickly led to compliance with the permit requirements. Residents' feedback has been overwhelmingly positive, with many expressing appreciation that the borough was able to develop and implement a practical solution to address their parking needs. I would also like to thank our Sport Services Manager, Kelly Olkowski, who is here tonight, and our parking enforcement officers for conducting these surveys and enforcement during this 90-day period.
Any questions to Chief Lennon related to the?
Yes, if we choose not to move ahead with permitted parking, is this something that can be revisited later on?
Absolutely. We can revisit this. If conditions change in the area, we'd be happy to do the same thing and see what the results are after that second study.
Right, because you mentioned before, like, conditions are about to change imminently as a new like restaurant, eatery, and / sports facility is about to go in there. And I believe they have an agreement for parking, but that's not to say everyone who starts going there is gonna know where the parking is, and that may affect it. But rather than say continue with the permitted trial until that's built and up and running and everything, I mean, my belief is that it might be prudent to just pull this back, given your stats. But I was interested in the fact that, like, with the conditions changing, that we could revisit it again.
Yeah, we'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And just for the record, right, so these are two separate parking permits issues. This isn't
Yes.
just one overall ordinance, we're gonna consider these as two separate.
Yes, and both of them were handled differently, and both one on the east side and one on the west side.
I'll tell you, people in my ward are very happy. So they're happy that it's being patrolled, and they're very happy to have their parking permits in their spaces.
Are there creative options for the 5 to 9 p.m. that we could start exploring with that in mind? I just think not to just kind of drop it off, but we obviously have a 5 to 9 issue. So can we try and think, is there anything else out there that we can get creative with?
There is commercial parking available directly behind that block.
Just a thought.
I was also gonna say, I don't think that parking is timed either, so just general timing of parking between 5 to 9 might also be an option.
All right, there's no vote tonight on this, but thank you for sharing that data. Helps make informed decisions, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda is legal matters, and this is considering us to authorize the borough solicitor to seek party status on behalf of the borough in the zoning hearing board proceedings regarding the proposed data center in Plymouth Township. So what I'm looking for is a motion to authorize the borough solicitor to go tomorrow evening to seek party status on behalf of the borough to the Plymouth zoning board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. You have your orders there, Mr. Solicitor.
Thank you.
All right. We are at the council member and mayor matters section. The mayor is not here. Did he send pictures? Did not. Oh, jeez.
He's enjoying his vacation.
He is enjoying his vacation. All right, so we'll go right down the council list. Mr. Fry. Every time.
It's only been 3 years.
I know, every time I say it wrong.
So, yeah, just wanted to say a quick shout out to the Conshohocken Theater and Parks program. It was really, really cool to see the turnout, the people that came out and supported it. Really, really good job on the actual production value of it. The performers were awesome. My daughter came there and she was like, I think I'll be in the next one. I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's really a neat thing to see.
There is a children's show too.
I know. Well, they told her she could read, she could be in this one. So I said, you got to read more books because I'm not really at the whole script. But yeah, really good job by everyone involved, and kudos to everyone who got it up and running and really put that together. It's something to be proud of. That's all.
Kathleen?
I'll just mirror what Rob said about Kevin Stackhouse did a great job, and I thank them.
No comments tonight.
Adrian?
I just want to thank the fire department and the police. We just had National Night Out last night, and last Thursday and this Tuesday, we had sprinkler nights in the park. I know my son loved it, even though he took forever to get changed and only went in there for about 5 seconds. So we greatly appreciate it, and then, I mean, it was packed. It's just great to see that every single time we have it, it seems to get a little more and more packed. So that's great to see. So thank you to the fire department, Public Works, appreciate you, and also to the police department.
Alan?
Nothing for me.
Okay. For me, yes, the parks were packed. I was totally amazed at how packed the parks were for both of those events. I also heard feedback that the kids' music was a hit, and if we could do more than one of those in a summer session, they would love to have that. From Conshohocken Theater and the Parks, that cast and crew wanted to say thank you to Borough Administration, Borough Council for supporting them in putting together that show. We had a very talented group of individuals that came from all over, locally and afar, to actually perform, and I think that all the feedback we got has been spectacular. We did 4 shows. We had over 100 people at each show. I think the last show on Saturday, we probably had almost 300 people. There were people everywhere at that show as well. And are looking forward, the group is looking forward to continuing to have us host them as we move forward. They're planning their winter one to come to us. All right, any public comment this evening on anything? Come on, up. Okay. Tim, Ed, Mark. And then, sorry, you know.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Tim Beckel, resident of West Elm Street. I wanted to come and speak about the MECKA property, the Maple Street development. So they live nearby, and let me preface this with, I'm very supportive of the project. I think it's great, to add housing, essentially in that location, compared to recycling, kind of industrial use near housing. Not great. So very supportive of the project. I do want to see it move forward. There were a couple things that I wanted to kind of point out. There was some discussion earlier about removal of trees, and one of the things that I don't know if you can appreciate from an overhead drawing is that it sounds like it's only a few trees, out of 5, 6, 7 trees, but these are like 70-foot tall trees. So when you're talking about mature root systems, the contribution to the canopy, we don't have enough of, in certain areas of the borough. It's going to take a long time if you're planting 26 trees or whatever they said. It's going to take a long time to get that canopy back, or you might not, because those are not going to grow to the same extent as these mature pine trees. And one of the, obviously, being part of the EDC, I care about that in general, but I think given this area of the borough, they mentioned flooding issues. I'll show you some pictures here in a second. But
there's severe flooding issues, and one of the things that I don't know, and I don't understand enough about it, if the stormwater issues were considered for the removal of the trees from public lands and the impervious, the paving added to the, basically Kingsland's Folly part of that park. So they may say, okay, we're improving stormwater on our property, the four corners of our property, but are we overall in the aggregate contributing to improve stormwater or actually reducing it because of what's happening in the public lands? And so I'm going to pass pictures around if that's all right. Thank you. There's a couple copies. So there's severe flooding issues. So this is a picture of my driveway backyard, August of 2021. Severe flooding. I think at least a half a dozen cars were totaled. 5 to 6 residents had their houses flooded. This is about a week or two before Ida. My wife was 8 months pregnant when this happened. This was not ideal, to say the least. I wanted to thank the borough for, I talked to Ray at the time, and there was a focus on it. So I don't want to say that nothing's been considered or looked at. September 1st, 2021, which I think is Ida, happened again. And I think what's happening, and again, not an expert, the stormwater drain that's next to Kingsland's Folly Park either gets overwhelmed and backs up. I don't know if it's actually backing up or just getting overwhelmed. I forgot to put a label on this, but this is July of 23. And then recently, there a couple times in the last month or two. And these are all, I just want to point out, these are all flooding events that for the most part have happened during the day when I can actually get a picture. But basically any heavy rain, we're worried about it. Do I have to move my cars? I have flood barriers at the back of my house. Do I have to put those out? I think there was heavy rains a couple nights ago, and it's like 3 a.m. We're like, do I have to go look and see if it's flooding? And I'm not the only resident that's experiencing this. So I don't want to say that this project is, going to make or break this situation, but I wanted to bring it to your all's attention and make sure that the project is not making it worse. Certainly, I hope that it improves a little bit, and want to bring some focus to this issue.
Thanks.
Ed?
Yeah, how you doing? Ed Zale, 200 West Elm Street, Conshohocken. Just want to say thank you for the Wyman Park, the pocket park down there. I walk by it a couple times every day. It's really nice design you've done there, the plantings, the trees, the benches. So to improve that park a lot, it was just a park. Other thing is, got to give props to the chief. He's a man of his word. A couple months ago, I came, asked about flashing light on West Elm Street. Nothing happened. Came back, asked again. Nothing happened. 2 weeks ago, before a meeting, I talked to him for 4 minutes. I said, hey, can you look into it? 8 o'clock the next morning, it's done. Okay? I don't know why the chief had to do it, because that was 4 months after I asked you guys what could be done about it. You were going to look into it, was going to look into it. He doesn't. I mean, that's man. He's, as they said about Chase Upton, he be the man. Get things done. Previously, you talked about parking issues. You're going to do the Main Street, the Fayette Street revision. Goodwill is worth thousands of dollars. Your budget shows that you make $120,000 in revenue for the parking funds. Well, you probably have to pay the individuals, park enforcement, there's 2 cars, 2 guys, $50,000 that is salary. 2 cars, maintenance, payments, insurance, gas, another 10, 12,000. So you're really netting about 60,000. Go up and down Fayette Street. There's no rhyme or reason for the parking there. literally in front of your building, there's no parking sign, there's no restrictions. Across the street, 2 hours. In front of PNC and the church, 2 hours. Across the street, it's 1 hour time limit, but you gotta pay for that. You go down in front of the bars, 3 of the signs say 15-minute to-go parking, so they're running in and out. But you turn the corner on First Ave, there's 2 signs there, but then 2 more parking spots, you gotta pay for 1 hour. There's no rhyme or reason. Across the street, right here on your side of the building, it's, I think, 2 hours and 1 hour parking free. Next, across the street, at the deli, you gotta pay. But in front of the deli, you don't have to pay. On the side of the deli, you do. Perhaps, and you probably guys have already thought about this over the years, free 2-hour parking. I mean, when you do the new street configuration, just think of the positive things that you're gonna be able to say. Work, play, eat, go to school, free parking. It's just something, you're only getting 60 grand. It's not a lot of money that's making a difference in this budget. But it's a lot of goodwill that you will eventually get. Customers can come for lunch, don't have to worry about running out. So, like I said, if it was consistent, it's one thing, but it's really inconsistent on Fayette up to 5th Street. So, just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Chief.
Marlo?
Good evening, Marlo Doman, 19 East 11th Avenue. By the way, I love this last idea. It's great. 2 votes for that. I just wanted to comment on the data center application in Plymouth. As you know, I'm the Vice Chair of the Zoning Board here in Conshohocken. I want to comment on that application since it's not before me and in my capacity as a private citizen. First of all, thank you to Borough Council for approving the seating party status in that application. I think it's really important for the community that our voices be heard, and I'm sure my leaders will do a great job. I just want to encourage council to oppose this application as much as you possibly can. I've seen situations where parties don't necessarily oppose the application. They might accept conditions, there might be a settlement, and while I realize there are a lot of hypotheticals here and I don't know how the application is going to play out, they've already rejected conditions that were offered to them. And I'm concerned that they're going to try to throw out a few conditions that won't really protect the community, and that we may back down because we're up against a very deep pocket here. And I think that's very dangerous. So I was reading in the New York Times that there are communities across the country that currently are suing data centers because people's home properties have now been depreciated. They live nearby, and nobody wants to live in a community where their walls are shaking like they live in a nightclub 24 hours a day, or where the air is polluted. And I think that if that happened here, then a lot of people who live here, probably some of you as well, the most important asset that they own could become depreciated, and then you're trapped. You can't leave, and no one wants to buy your house. And we basically marched the community 50 years back to a time when people didn't really want to come here. So that's basically what I wanted to urge tonight. Thank you.
We'll go.
My name is Chester Douglas. I'm from West 6th Avenue. My first time I come to a meeting. My question is, I see the borough purchasing this, purchasing that, buying this, buying that. What happened with that house that the borough was going to up to 11th and Fayette? No, I didn't hear anything. Did the borough purchase that house next to the new firehouse property?
Yes, you did.
Oh, you did? What are you doing with that?
It's going to be part of that complex.
Making it bigger?
Yes.
Wow, that's going to be humongous.
It helps with the turnaround for the trucks, I think was the main reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And some engineering.
in that alleyway, that is
next to the A Stadium. There's a garage back there basically, and that street itself is pretty narrow, that us getting that would greatly help our ability to move the trucks in and out of that street.
Okay, thank you, you answered my question.
Thank you for coming.
Come back anytime. Hey, officer, come back anytime. Okay, thank you.
All right, your turn.
My name is Jennifer Fields. I was a resident in Conshohocken for 24 years, but I still have property here on the 200 block of East Elm. So we were part of the study that was just completed for parking. What I'll say is, in 2013, we purchased the property and we went through about 3.5 months of pretty heavy cleaning up, renovating, making the property livable. Every day we were there, sometimes every night. We were there, weekends, mornings, and still go every week because we maintain the property and we take care of the issues that come up. And I will say that the findings of the study are exactly my experience. So that was really good. I'm like, hey, I could have written that slide. But there's a couple of things that I'd just like to share, because when it first rolled out, we had no idea why. We just got this thing, hey, everybody should have permits, and we didn't have a reason why. So I thank you for explaining why we went through the pilot there. A lot of questions came to my mind as it was going on, and so I don't feel strongly one way or the other. As it rolls out forward, maybe we will need it. Right now, I don't think we do. But some of the issues that came to mind, for example, what about non-resident property owners? What about contractors, caretakers, healthcare providers, family and friends who come to visit? What do we do with them if residents have parking passes and they don't, and there's a potential for tickets? And as Ed said, well, yeah, we're not going to create a lot of goodwill if we do that in the neighborhood. Really, if we're going to deliver a program like that, it should be without cost or inconvenience to people who live there. There's always been ebb and flow of parking down there. You've got lots of visitors that come to the park, for example, because some people have picnics there, basketball games, and there's people who bring their kids in minivans and they offload and they go to the park. There's also a lot of bikers and a lot of trail users, so they'll show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and offload their bike and go down to the trail and disappear for a few hours. During the day, at least on the lower 200 block, parking is never a problem. The opposite side of the street has no houses. Fine grinding, I think, used to be there. I don't know what the status of that building is. But if that changes, we may need to have a conversation about parking. But right now, the statistic is right. 5 to 9, because there are restaurants, is really a little more work to find a parking place. But I, in 10 years, 11, 12, 13 years, have never had a guest complain about parking. My brother lives there full time. He's never said, I had to park 6 blocks down the road. It's never been an issue to find a spot. So for our 200 block, I think that the decision to table it until there's an actual issue that we can't figure out in an easier way might be a good idea. In fact, when the street was closed for paving last year, we all found parking. It wasn't a big deal. So that's all I just wanted to share. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the study. It confirms everything I was already aware of, and I hope you guys make a good decision about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience for public comment? Brittany, I'd ask you if anything came in, but we're not necessarily televising this.
Getting a text, Paul?
All right, so we'll post our recording.
We will do the
hopefully.
best with whatever recording we were able to capture.
Okay.
Yes, it is not going to be great quality, and we will do our best to post what we can.
Okay. I guess with that, what I would say is if there are additional questions about topics on the agenda, please reach out to either administration or anyone from council. You don't have to go to your council member if that's uncomfortable. Anyone from council, and we will get you the answers that you need, that you didn't get to see from the live streaming. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. This was a fruitful meeting today, and I am going to call it adjourned.